Welcome to the Thrive Co podcast, exploring the inner side of success. I'm your host, Nikki, and each week we will explore the mindset shifts, personal growth, and everyday tools that will help you to navigate ambition, manage stress, and build a life that actually feels good on the inside. Through solo episodes and honest guest conversations, we look at what it really takes to grow, change, and thrive in the modern world. Welcome back to the Thrive Co podcast. Welcome to the new listeners. I know that there's a few of you. I've had some messages this week saying that people have been finding the podcast or friends have shared it with them. So welcome to you. And if you're an OG, then welcome back. If you're an OG from the previous podcast, then thank you. And thank you to all of you that are here. I really do genuinely appreciate every single one of you that listens. And and especially those of you that message me and give me feedback on the content, tell me how useful it's been or ask me questions. Yeah, I love it. So keep it coming. Happy Sunday and happy Easter Sunday. I hope you're all having an amazing weekend, an amazing long bank holiday weekend. I really feel like when the clocks go forward and we have Easter, that is the start of spring, regardless of what the weather's doing, because it's lighter until a lot later in the evening, and obviously talking Northern Hemisphere here. And yeah, it just feels like spring has sprung and that everything is starting to just feel a bit more positive, a lot more opportunity. People are just a little bit happy, a little bit of a spring in their step. I do need to caveat this with, I literally sat down to record and I pressed record on, I do like a little test before I record just to hear the sound. And my neighbour put on what I can only assume was a lawnmower or a hedge trimmer the second that I pressed record. So if you can hear that, then I'm not going to lie, we're just going to go with it this week because I don't really have another option. I'm in the zone to record now. I'm feeling energized. I'm feeling inspired. And yeah, I don't particularly want to kind of do this again at another point. So we're just going to go with it. But I hope you're all good. I hope you're all having, a fab weekend. I hope you've done some nice things. I obviously record this a little bit ahead of time and schedule it. Not too much, normally just a few days. But my plans for this weekend were, and hopefully this has aged well and I've followed through with this, were kind of house sorting. I did a big wardrobe clear out last weekend, which was just so cathartic. Felt so fucking good to get rid of stuff that I've been clinging on to for no real reason other than I felt bad getting rid of it. Or, when you kind of say, I might wear that in the future. I actually listened back to the decluttering episode that I did with Dominica, which was way back in the early Hello Sunday days. Go back and listen to that if that inspires you. And watched a couple of YouTubes on wardrobe decluttering, and it just made me so energized and excited, and smashed through it, and it felt really good. So it really made me realize that there's other things that need doing now, primarily the garage where we've just shoved all our shit when we moved in, and there's probably a lot of stuff in there that I don't even know exists. So I'm going to do a big garage clear out. We've got like a little gym room in the house, which actually used to be part of the garage. The people before us blocked half of it off and made it into like a little room. So we've got like a little gym set up that needs kind of cleaning, organising, buying some new bits for. And then on Sunday, which is today if you're listening as it's released, I was meant to be going to this like warehouse party thing that one of my friends is hosting and all of my friends and my husband are going to. And I was just like, do you know what? Like, I just don't feel like I want to do that. I don't feel like I want to be in a warehouse in like the cold. Not that it would be cold in there, but, in this weather. And also, like, I really need to prioritize and invest in my business, both businesses, the podcast. Like, my energy for this next quarter needs to be bang on, and having late nights and potentially drinking as well, because I have kind of slipped off a little bit with the sobriety, which I'm going to talk about another time, but not majorly, but just, I'm not 100% sober anymore. And yeah, I just sort of felt like this isn't really like for me this time. So I have politely bowed out. They're all still going, and I'm going to organise, well, I will by the time you listen to this, a nice day out with Marley the dog, and then some self-care. I'm going to go and get some M&S snacks. If you're in the UK, you'll know how good M&S snacks are. They are like elite, any M&S food, but the snacks particularly. Really want to try the speckled egg cookies. And I'm going to have a bath and watch a film and just chill out. So hopefully, as you're listening to this, as it comes out, I'll have done all of those things and, yeah, be really nice and relaxed and ready for Bank Holiday Monday. So I hope you're having a good one. I hope that you guys have got some nice plans or you're doing nice things. And if you're listening to this later than Easter Sunday, then I hope you had a fantastic time. But what I wanted to chat about this week was, and I'll be honest, this episode is a little bit on the fly. I just felt inspired and haven't really written any notes down. And it's just coming from personal experience, really. So it might be a bit all over the place, but let's see how we go. The thing that I want to talk about this week is what is being referred to as your surface area for opportunities. So last week, I went to an in-person event. It was a recruitment event that I'd been invited to. It was a lunch. It just so happened to be coinciding with the day that Marley was at daycare. He's actually doing an overnight trial with a daycare, like a sitter. So he was already being looked after, and I hadn't got any meetings or calls booked in when I got the invite. And I thought, yeah, do you know what? I mean, I'm not going to lie. Part of it was because it was at the Ivy and it was free food, which definitely, if you ever get a chance to eat at the Ivy or go to an event there, the food is incredible. Yeah, I've never had a bad meal there. And for a free meal, I mean, these events you normally get maybe like a breakfast croissant and an orange juice. You might get a bit of lunch, but it's normally like, a sandwich or a little buffet. This was elite. So that was the first reason why I actually thought I wanted to go, which I'm not ashamed to admit. And then I thought, do you know what? It'd be nice to do stuff face to face, because as much as I'm working with other businesses and teams now, it's all online and I rarely get to see people face to face in the flesh. So also one of my friends and peers was going. So I knew one person now at least. Anyway, long story short, it was a really good day. We were discussing the use of AI and also mergers and acquisitions. There was a real breadth of experience around the room. Most people were either business owners or worked in small boutique businesses. And it was a really, really good day. It was nice to be in the room with people that had, like-minded ways of thinking and but obviously points of difference in terms of sector and their growth journey. But just to share, oh my gosh, sorry, my microphone just fell over. Probably should edit that out, but I'm not going to. We move. This is all authentic. But yeah, so it was nice to be in the room with just people who were wanting to share, and just, it's a different energy, isn't it, when you're not in front of a screen. And as a result of that, I actually met with 2 or 3 individuals who, when I spoke about what it is that I do from like a delivery support, retained recruitment delivery support perspective, were quite keen to chat more. I'd got people they can introduce me to, were currently setting up a retained or exec search function in their business, or they were just really intrigued by the flexible business model that I operate. And I wouldn't have got those opportunities had I have not been in that room. I wouldn't have met those people. I wouldn't have had the warmth of introduction. I wouldn't have been able to follow up with them on LinkedIn. And even though it hasn't come to anything right now revenue-wise, just making those connections and making those introductions made me realise that the only way that happened was being in the room. And then about 2 days after that, I can't remember what platform I was on now. I think it might have been possibly Instagram. I've actually got a blocker on my phone at the moment that only lets me on Instagram for like 5 minutes every like, I don't know, I think it's 10 times a day for 5 minutes, and I rarely use that allocation. So whenever I'm on there, it's very intentional to either post, or I might just very lightly scroll and see like the odd quote, but I'm trying not to get into a scroll hole and kind of doom scroll. But this really stopped me in my tracks, because it was a quote that said, you need to increase your surface area for opportunities. And at first I was like, what does that even mean? What is your surface area for opportunities? But then when I read the caption, it was all about, in essence, putting yourself out there, creating like more ways to bring opportunities to you. And I think this is really poignant, because something happened in my business last week. I'm not going to go into details because it's the nitty-gritty of recruitment, and it's quite boring. But something happened and it massively impacted a piece of revenue that I was due to invoice, like literally this week. It was due to go out at the end of March. And as a result of that, it was completely wiped off the radar. It made me spiral. Just for an evening, I messaged one of my best friends. I spoke to my husband, and I was quite upset, and it really kind of put me into a bad headspace. And then I thought, no, do you know what? You've got to give your head a wobble. But whilst I was in that like spiral, all I could think about was, well, how am I going to replace this revenue, and who do I know? And really, really deep in the weeds of like, how and where is this going to come from? And, just very, very, what's the word? Like, in that kind of controlling energy of trying to find ways that this would come to me again. And, putting blockers in the way of, well, that person's not going to work with me at the moment because of this, and this person won't because of that. And actually all that did was make me spiral further and make me feel like the opportunities were closed off, and that it was very limited, and just, that like icky, horrible energy that you get into when you just tell yourself stories of like lack and failure and blah, blah, blah. You know the one, we've all been there. And so when I read this quote, I'd kind of got myself out of that mindset a little bit already. I'd spoken to my coach, I'd given my head a bit of a wobble, and I was like, look, this isn't, A, it's not your fault what's happened, and B, it's not a sign of failure, it's just a lesson. It's just, you can't let yourself be in that situation again. But when I read this quote, I was like, the penny just dropped. Something happened, and it just made me realise that creating more opportunity for opportunities is the only way that you're going to be successful. If you are running a business and you're going down one avenue for creating success, you're chasing one client base, or that's not to say you shouldn't niche down, but you're just trying to figure out exactly how this money is going to come to you, or how this success, or how the client, and you're basically getting in your own way, and you're maybe just posting on Instagram, or you're just posting on LinkedIn, or you're just calling people that you've worked with before, then you're really not going to have that much success. You're limiting yourself, because your surface area for success and for opportunities to land is so small. And it's the same with anything, with dating. If you are only going on one dating platform, or you're only talking to people when you're in certain situations, then, the perfect partner could be in the supermarket, and you're just not giving yourself that opportunity to meet them because you're ordering your grocery deliveries. Or they could be on, a certain workshop that you're going to join, and you choose not to go. You just never know when opportunities are going to come. And so opening that door, creating more surface area for those opportunities to land, is the only way that you are going to have more opportunities in your life. And I was thinking about like all the people that I know that are successful, all the people that I know that are, really lucky in inverted commas, because let's be honest, luck is a combination of just being in good energy and creating this surface area for opportunities to land. Nobody is intrinsically lucky or unlucky. It's how we perceive things and the, what we put out there. But all of those, in inverted commas, lucky people were just people that had taken the risk and failed, in inverted commas, time and time and time again. You know, if you look at somebody like Michael Jordan, I don't know the stats, and I think I've mentioned this in a previous episode, but like he missed something like 90%, 97% of the shots that he took in training, and it was only by repetition and constantly putting himself out there and doing the thing that, you know, he managed to be as successful as he was. It was just consistency. And, you know, you see people that have landed partners and you think, oh God, you know, I wish that I could meet someone like that. They've just put themselves out there. They've just been on the platforms, or they've just gone to, you know, spoken to people in the gym, or struck up conversations in the supermarket, or let their friends set them up on a blind date. They've been open to the opportunities. And so for me, in a business context, this is really about having like maximum visibility, showing up on LinkedIn. It's asking my clients for referrals. It's going to these events, even when there's no obvious, you know, kind of no obvious opportunity waiting there for me. It is being consistent, and it is putting myself out there and letting people know about the work that I do. If you're beavering away in your office or your bedroom or whatever it is, and you're creating incredible work, but nobody knows about it, guess what? Your opportunities are going to be limited, you know? I've got friends who are incredible artists. My husband's nephew is incredible at drawing and graphic design, but he never puts it out there. He never shares it with anybody other than close family. I've got people in my life who are so talented, but they have just never put it out there. And so, you know, no one's going to know about it. No one's going to have the opportunity to provide you with an opportunity, or to give you something that could lead to your success, if they don't know, if you're just hiding away. And so in relation to this work issue, I thought, yeah, do you know what? I'm being so blinkered in my view of how I'm going to create success and how opportunities are going to come to me, that actually, you know, I'm not putting myself out there enough. I'm not looking at all the avenues and all the channels and creating a bigger surface area. I'm not putting my work out there with people that I don't already know that often. I might send them like one message, but I'm not following up. I'm not asking people for referrals. I'm not sharing my testimonials. All of this stuff that I could be doing to create more opportunity for myself, I wasn't doing it because my mindset was, oh, you know, in the gutter, I'm not succeeding. When in reality, if I look at what I've created since the beginning of the year, like, it's incredible. So if there are areas in your life where you're thinking you're not getting the success that you want, maybe you want a partner, maybe you've got a hobby that you absolutely love and you'd love to pursue it as a career, maybe you've got a business idea, or you've got a business and it's just not doing as well as you would like it to. There could be many areas in life where you're not giving yourself enough opportunity to attract opportunities. And don't get me wrong, you'll get probably offered things, or, you know, open doors will be open that maybe aren't of interest to you. But the more that happens, the more likelihood that something is to come up that actually will be that opportunity that you've been waiting for, you know? And actually for me, it was really just shifting my mindset and allowing myself to feel like there was more opportunity out there, and making myself bigger, you know, creating the personal brand and putting it out there. It's scary. It's fucking scary. When I do these podcasts, sometimes I think, you know, who's going to listen? Who really gives a shit? Sometimes when I do my Instagram videos, sharing stuff, you know, I'll get no response or no feedback. And I think, oh my God, this is, you know, but it's the only way that you're going to create the right people seeing you and the right opportunities. Can I say the word opportunity anymore, by the way? Is by consistently showing up and doing it. And this sort of aligns with what I was talking around last week about taking that first step. But this is more than that. It's not just about the first step. It's about, you know, creating that surface area, looking at all the possible doors that you could open or ways that doors could be open, looking at all the possible channels, looking at all the possible routes, and just allowing yourself to explore them, not limiting yourself and not creating blocks and getting in your own way and thinking about the how too much, because that's generally what we do as humans. We will try and think 10 steps ahead before we have even taken the first step, or we'll shut avenues off because of our own judgment or our own preconceptions. So it's, telling people about what you're doing. It's doing it in the first place to be able to tell them, and building relationships, allowing yourself to talk to people and network with people and change your environment and adopt a yes mentality, because you just don't know where those opportunities are going to come from. So a bit of a shorter one from me this week, but I just really, really needed to hear that myself. And also I thought, if I need to hear it, then sure as hell that there's other people out there that are connected to me that are going to benefit from hearing this as well. So I hope that was useful. I hope that you've taken something from it. As always, please follow the show, share it with somebody that is in your life that might be, needing to hear this or connecting with the content. I'm not just going to be talking about these types of things and topics. We're going to be covering all sorts of self-development and mindset work, and the real nervous system regulation stuff as well, as I'm learning about it. So please do share with your friends and with your networks, and enjoy the rest of the Easter break if you're listening to this in real time. Have a fantastic week, and I will see you next time. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's show, make sure you are following the podcast, and don't forget to share episodes with a friend who may need it.